Talk about some tips for home buyers. Hi, this is Charles Kim from the K Group, and I wanted to introduce you to our newest agent, Pia, today.
Hello.
And then Pia and I, we decided to partner up because I worked with her in a deal, and she was amazing.
Thank you.
Said, hey, why don't we work together?
It is a pleasure to be here and be part of the K Group. You guys are an award-winning company, and I couldn't think of a better person to partner with than the K Group. So I am excited to join this team and work together and provide the best service to all of our clients.
So now we're going to talk about some tips for home buyers. This market is hot. There's homes just flying off the market, like it's gone within hours sometimes. And there's a lot of multiple offer situations where buyers would have to bid up or remove some of the contingencies. Now, from my experience, this is probably one of the craziest times that I've seen before the 2008 recession. So now we're kind of coming back into that era, mainly driven by the low mortgage interest rates. So, from your experience, Pia, what have you been seeing?
Absolutely. The same thing that you mentioned. We do have a lot of buyers because of the interest rates. So one of the main things that we want to tell buyers is to be prepared to make that offer. You want to make sure that you're working with a good local lender that is going to qualify you and be ready to tell the other agent that you're ready to buy. That way it gives you it makes you look so much better when you are an agent that is prepared with a pre-approval letter.
The funny thing is, in this market, especially because of technology, realtors can see each other's profile.
Yeah.
So if you're an agent with a bad review, the listing agent is probably not going to want to work with you. So I found that to be that's kind of something that's different in the market today.
Absolutely.
You have to have an agent that's reputable, you have to have a lender that's reputable, you have to be honest, and you have to have a lot of integrity as a realtor. Otherwise, people will find out. It's a small world, right?
Yes, it is. There is Zillow, there is Google, there are so many websites out there that are providing information to other agents about who you are working with. So you always, as a buyer, want to make sure that you have a good, reputable, professional agent that knows their market, so that not only can you have a smooth transaction, but when you're putting in an offer, you want to make sure that you show that you're working with a great agent. And that just gives you sort of like a footstep in the house already by having a good agent, by working with a good agent.
Right. And as of now, there's been many deals that are going without any contingencies. I know some buyers are kind of nervous to do that.
Yes, they are.
And they're hesitant to waive some of the contingencies.
Yes.
I always tell my buyers, expect to go try this a couple times. You're never gonna get, a lot of times you're not gonna get the house you put an offer in the first time. So expect to get it maybe third, or maybe, if you get it on the first try, that's amazing. But
yes.
Yeah, expect to try a couple times and get it maybe on the second and third try. That's kind of the normal I see. Because a lot of times buyers are nervous, and they don't want to remove any contingencies in the first time, but the second transaction they're ready to remove some of the contingencies, make it better, stronger offer. And then I don't know if you have any tips on that.
Absolutely. So when you're putting in an offer, a lot of times if you find the perfect home, the home that actually meets all of your needs, you are better off waiving those contingencies. And actually you may want to stretch your budget if you wanted to go over asking price, because it is the home that fits all of your check boxes, right, as you mentioned.
Right. And to that point, I always tell my clients, look, you pay $10,000 extra now. If you break it down into 30 years, that's maybe $50 extra per month you're paying.
Right. And in terms of the home inspection, you'll have to waive the home inspection just so that your offer looks better. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have a home inspection. You can still do a home inspection for your information, so that later on when you get in the property, you can actually start working on those items, and then you'll have a great home in the years to come.
Right. Yeah, so between home inspection, the next contingency is appraisal, which gets a little tricky, because if the sales price is higher than what the appraised value is, then you have a problem, right? Or you can say a problem or a challenge. As a buyer, you would have to put more money down to make up that difference.
Exactly.
However, from the seller's side, that's what they want, because they want to make sure they're locking into that sales price. and they don't have to lower the price when the appraisal comes short.
Yeah.
So what do you advise for buyers in that situation?
So a lot of times if you do have the extra budget, I would recommend my clients to add an addendum letting the seller know that you are willing to come up with the extra cash for the difference. So if you have a certain budget, let's say you budgeted exactly for closing costs and down payment, we can always shift those numbers around by putting in a lower down payment and then adding that money towards that appraisal contingency. And if the appraisal comes up price, then you can always change the terms and add that money back to your down payment.
And the last contingency is the financing contingency, which is something that people might seem like it's kind of risky, but then again, like there's some calculated risk based on financing, and sometimes buyers do waive the financing contingency. Now, if you're obviously buying with all cash, you don't need financing contingency, but for people that don't have cash, what are some scenarios that you've seen?
So what I've seen a lot in clients is if you have a great lender that you're working with and you have a stable job, like if you're working for the government or army, a lot of times that is a low risk, meaning that you can get qualification from a lender and you won't have a risk of defaulting. Therefore, it is easier to waive that contingency. Or if you're putting a large down payment, let's say you have 50% down that you want to put down on the house, a lot of times that is a low risk as well. And you can actually waive that home financing contingency.
Those are the three contingencies. Now, one thing you can do is do an escalation addendum or an escalation clause. Now, this is where you decide the starting price of where you're going to offer, and then what's the maximum offer price, and also the increment or how much higher you want to offer than the next best offer, and what are your experiences with that?
I actually love escalation addendums. With an escalation addendum, you have higher chances of outbidding another offer. And not only that, the great part is that as a buyer, they're comfortable knowing that someone else was actually willing to offer that high amount. So when you put in an escalation addendum, the other agent has to prove to you that they received an offer that was high, and you get to see the offer. So buyers tend to get more comfortable when they see that someone else was willing to offer that much money. So I love escalation addendums. It just helps the buyers not put all their money out there, but have that cushion in case there's someone else that is offering more money than their offer.
Right, because you never know what the other buyers are offering.
Exactly.
So you always want to give your maximum amount onto that escalation clause. But then a lot of times people will say, oh, I want to do, like, let's say the house is $500,000, they'll go up to $530,000.
Yeah.
But then I always say, let's do extra $1,000.
Yeah,
just in case. Yeah. Because otherwise,
Exactly.
like, if you miss that house for that $1,000, then you're gonna like hate yourself for it. So.
Exactly. And there has been times where that extra $1,000 made a difference for the seller. So
totally.
It's definitely a great document to add to the contract.
Yeah. So wrapping all those contingencies and the escalation clause together, I have had a situation where my buyer beat out 18 other offers.
Oh, wow.
And because we had no contingencies, our offer was $30,000 less than the highest offer.
Wow.
But my client still got it because he had no contingencies.
Oh.
So that's another tactic. So you can say, oh, I'm going to pay more for this house and include all these contingencies. Or you can lower your price and then take away all the contingencies, and vice versa. So you can play around with that and decide what you want to do.
Yeah, depending on their buyer's situation, right? If you can waive that.
That's true.
If you feel comfortable waiving that home inspection, if you feel comfortable waiving that financing contingency, it just all goes back to what the buyer feels comfortable with and what their budget is, right?
Yeah, so you can have a home inspection contingency and offer like $100,000 more, but doesn't mean that's going to be the price that's going to be locked at. Yeah, so that kind of wraps it up for the tips on buyers in this market, because there are so many multiple offer situations, not enough homes, and how do you get that house you want? And I've had a couple clients call me, or a couple buyers call me because their current agent wasn't able to beat out other offers. So they usually try about at least 2 times. And then they call me and say, hey, we keep on getting outbid. Like, what can you do differently for me? And then when they come on my team, they actually end up getting it the first time. So
that's wonderful.
Yeah, it's not just about like having the highest numbers. there's actually little tips in the
Strategies.
offer. There's like little secrets in the offer that we're not going to tell you everything on camera.
This is something that you do when you work with us, right?
Right, yeah.
So if you're ready to buy a home, contact us today so that we can help you get that home that you always dreamed of.
Yeah, otherwise you'll be going around in circles for many, many months.
Yes, exactly.
And not getting a home, so we don't want you to do that. So try not to waste your time. Contact us and we will figure out how to get that house you want.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so thank you for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. See you at the next video.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.